I have mentioned in my previous speech that we have $35.6 million dollars that comes to our territory of American Samoa. This is according to Department of Interior, and then you also find it on the DOI.gov website, and it has a chart and it shows the allocation of these funds into each department within our government here in American Samoa. Um, you know, it assists our government. They're not federal funds. They are here to help with the governments and their departments and companies that assist the government with local economic projects, infrastructures, and just anything that we need. Now, the policy that I have wanted to see or to encourage you was to have a set budget dedicated or just allocated solely on the Territorial Correction Facility here in Tafuna, um, because of all the prison escapes. The big issue of prisoners walking out and just prisoners escaping on a monthly basis due to the short staffing or the short correctional officers, to help with the security. So, how does this affect us? How does this affect you and I? It affects me physically because, here at American Samoa, our safety is at risk. How does this affect you who are listening? Um, may not pertain to everyone, but you're a taxpayer. I mean, this is where that money goes, to the territory. Uh, just a small bit. And we'd also like to see that go into good use. All right. Now, according to Talane News, that's the only news channel, the local news channel we have here in American Samoa. The Department of Safety, the Department of Public Safety, and the Police Chief Sonny Thompson suggests that the independence of the correctional facility. Now, this idea was presented at a hearing of the House of Public Safety Committee held last week. The commissioner stated, quote, the understaffing problem at DPS, the Department of Public Safety, is worsening. And even with the current police academy of 50 candidates, our police department will still have a deficit of officers. So in this hearing, they've actually the main issue that they were discussing was the escape or the continuous escape of prisoners. So now, according to the American Samoa Government Weekly Bulletin, the Commissioner Thompson proposed that one of the ways for resources, as if the Territorial Correctional Facility would go independence, this would qualify them for funding from the federal. And if this is the case, I would totally agree and support the commissioner on his proposal, because having the Territorial Corrections Facility independent or their own department within the government, not talking about private, talking about within the government. So it's a nonprofit, type deal. Would not only free up the Department of Public Safety or the police officers to have them, fully engaged in their daily operations or daily duty scope, but this would also help the community out by having opportunity or job opportunities, being that it'll be, funded. Now, this will not affect the government as far as budgeting goes, because within the government, I'm pretty sure they can have somebody assign someone who is qualified, certified to be the director, and then of course a committee, to run the correctional facility, and then of course the hiring process, which they would have federal training on as a as a corrections officer, whatever the certification and the prerequisites that they need to do that. But that's opportunity for the community here in American Samoa. That's a plus. But study shows in the University of Texas at Austin Lyndon B. Johnson School of Public Affairs and of School of Law had a research done in 2006 stating that independent correctional oversight of all states says a mandatory inspections from state departments and federal officials facilities are one of the major successes in their operations. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the independence of or the freeing of the police department from being corrections officer, as a police officer now, they can, conduct normal, inspections of their security, and then also assist as far as whatever the feedback is and how they can improve. Or also have federal officials, on a semi-annual or an annual inspection, which would help maintain the territorial corrections facility. So, I don't support if they do become or they go to the independent route and they fall under a private company. That is what I will not support, because in the United States they have a high percentage, of private owned or private run prisons, high percentage of it being unsuccessful. So in an article from ColoradoIndependent.com, the Department Chief of Justice plans to phase out its use of private prisons due to because less safe and less effective. So the Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates announced the news in a memo. They simply do not provide the same level of correctional services, programs, and resources. They do not save substantially on costs, and as noted in a recent report by the department's Office of Inspector General, they do not maintain the same level of safety and security. So, overall, I would support my commissioner and their committee on having this issue or corrections office or correctional facility go independent as its own department within the government, because it helps out with both the public. It somewhat stays within the budget that we receive on a yearly basis, and having responsibility or a director or someone running this program, you would have the checks and balances within. So he not only stays with, falls under the government, but he also has to apply. It has to follow with what federal says. So I agree with this recent change or this recent proposal, and I hope this would also help out with the issue that we are currently facing with the prisoner's escape. Thank you.